One of the questions that we get asked at Gardner Tackle the most is how to fish with a chod rig properly. Luckily, we've got the first part of that sorted, that you can buy ready tied chod rigs that are tied to a very high specification with the correct curve in them, but how do you set them up? They're ideally fished with a very buoyant hook bait and on a long length of lead core so that it's free running away from the lead and the buoyant bait settles gently to the lake under the weight of the lead core as the line tightens. And I'll show you just how you need to set these up to get the best out of them. The best way to fish the choddy is on a nice long length of lead core. You can always buy a ready tied one and they're simplicity to use. Simply put the loop of the splice through the lead core and pass the other end of the lead core through it, and that's your lead on. Next, thread an uncut piece of silicone tube onto the lead core to act as a buffer between the chod rig, or whatever kind of helicopter rig you choose, and the top of the lead. Next, you want to put on a bead. I recommend a safety style bead with a tapered bore. Next, thread the safety bead onto the lead core. For the bottom bead, I'd recommend that you have the open tapered end of the bore facing down towards the lead. Next, thread the wide end of the flexi ring swivel that the chod rig is mounted on onto the lead core. And then finally, a second safety bead, but this time with the wide end of the bore facing upwards. This is an important safety feature because when you've got the silicone stop in place, the bead needs to be able to pop over the top of it to make the rig safe in case of any line breakage. Next, pull these all the way down to the lead. And finally, we need to add on a small piece of silicone tube at the desired length up the lead core to stop the chod rig from sliding up and stopping at the final position where we want the bait to be presented. With the 1/2 mil silicone tubing in place on the lead core to act as a stop for the chod rig, the easy test to make sure that your rig is safe is that the soft rubber bead will pull over the silicone stop, and this allows the chod rig to follow it in the event that your line has broken. As I explained, the chod rig should only really be used with a good quality pop-up, because that way the chod rig sits above the lead core and sits gently onto the lake bed. But you need to know how to set your pop-up on there correctly to get the most from the rig. On this occasion, I've looped on a 4.5 mil latex bait band, and I'm simply going to pierce the pop-up and thread it on and hold it in place with a Gardner bait stop. As I said, it's very important to use a good quality and buoyant pop-up with this rig. Today I'm using caviar and cranberry 16 mil baits from Carp company, as I've found that these are buoyant enough to keep the chod rig well popped up and balanced so that you get good strong hook holds. Simply thread the pop-up onto the bait band and hold it in place with a small dark coloured bait stop. And what you'll find is when it's laying on the lake bed, the bait will sit on the lead core up against the top stop and settle down gently onto the lake bed, where carp can easily find it even over light weed and silt.